Hi, Peter Kalos here with your acting tip for the day. The reason why you should watch the next interview is because it's Barry Primus who's done like 117 films interviewing Marty Landau, who's done 179 films. Marty's worked with everyone. He was in Cleopatra, he was in North by Northwest. James Dean and Marty Landau were roommates in the early days of New York, studying as actors. He's got an Academy Award. He's worked with every single person in the industry. And Barry Primus has worked with De Niro and Kazan. So when Barry interviews Marty Landau, you should pay attention, because until you've made 100 films, you should listen to people that have done so. The knowledge is insane. I met Marty a long time ago. He is one of the nicest, or was one of the nicest people in Hollywood. He had no ego. I'll share a quick story with you. I was having a cup of coffee one day at the Bourgeois Pig, which is my favorite coffee shop in LA. Marty was walking in front of the coffee shop. Now, I was inside, he was outside, and of all people, he was there with George Clooney. I have no clue what they were filming. Now, when I saw him, I saw, you know what, he's there with George Clooney. I don't know George Clooney, I'll leave them alone. Marty saw me, came in with George Clooney and said, George, this is a good friend of mine, Peter. Peter, this is George Clooney, and blah, 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 blah. Find me a so-called famous person that would do something like that. I was nothing. I mean, really. But for him to come in and introduce me to George Clooney and blah, 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 an absolute legend. A good term he used to use is a mensch. I remember when he was working on Ed Wood, and he was doing Bela Lugosi. He'd pick up the phone, you'd call his house, and you'd go, hello, this is Bela Lugosi. How are you today? And you go, hey, Marty, it's Peter, blah, blah, blah. And he'd go, how was the accent, kid? How was it? Was it working? Was it not working? But it shows you that he was working all the time. He didn't just do it. The amount of years this man has spent studying, he would always turn up to the actor's studio. He would always sit down there, do his exercises. He would teach, even though he taught, he would do the exercises. This man, when it comes to acting knowledge, is the top. Really, really up there. And an amazing person. So learn from them. Watch and listen to what they have to say and apply it to your own techniques. Hope you enjoy it.
Also training other actors. And you learn a lot when you train other actors too. And you see things. Sometimes it's easier to see those things in others, and you know, as if they were a mirror. And you say, oh, well, I've done that. I mean, why don't I, you know? It makes you aware of things that happen. Martin Landau. I feel very lucky that we've gotten Marty Landau to be on Inner Object. Well, Marty is an actor with an immense amount of experience. His debut film, if you can imagine, was Alfred Hitchcock's North by Northwest. Just recently, he won an Academy Award in Tim Burton's Ed Wood. His performances are marked by intelligence and honesty and surprise. But not everybody knows that Marty is also a great teacher. He brings that sense of experience and a whole sense of culture in his developing actors. He's worked in his classes with some of the most famous actors in Hollywood. Marty, thank you for doing this. We don't talk in capitals and sentences and periods or paragraphs. We talk in thoughts and ideas and run on sentences as such. I mean, where does a pause happen? I mean, yes, if you're doing Shakespeare, obviously there are commas, and it's his clue to take a breath. And if you don't take a breath at that point, you may succumb. I mean, you may die because there may not be another place to take a breath for a long time. Basically, one needs to breathe, and one needs to do what one does in life, which, again, you know, if you're not breathing naturally, you can hyperventilate, you can do all kinds of things, and your body will tell you that it's not natural, and you know, you then hardly become self-conscious in the wrong way. I don't like characters that don't go anywhere. and starting at one place and staying in that place. I like the character I did in NTV. I don't know if you saw the movie. I play Sally Kirkland's husband. It's a funny guy, and yet he's a guy who's in a wheelchair. He's got emphysema. He's sucking oxygen, and he makes jokes. And he doesn't go. He's really sick. I actually lost 15 pounds on purpose to play the role. I had just come off from another movie, and in a month, because I wanted to look like I belonged in a wheelchair. Not that but I just felt it would even be better if I looked bad. A lot of people said, "Jesus, Landau, he doesn't." But I played him robustly. I mean, never going there. The sickness was there, and when I needed the oxygen, I needed it. We all have the same emotions. We as men and women. I mean, when something's going on up there, we are affected by it. But when an actor is trying for an emotion, one is aware of that. That's a very self-conscious, indulgent thing, and it's not moving. It's when the actor is filled with the emotion and is trying to hold on to it, like as people do, that you are moved, where you would invariably say, cry, damn it. You want that release, but the person doesn't give it. And I can get there pretty fast now in terms of filling up. Being able to throw salt on the wound is something that I want. What I think good acting is something that's totally unpredictable and ultimately inevitable. Something that surprises me, surprises the actor. It's like I like to see something that doesn't look rehearsed, as if it's happening for the first time. That's a hard thing to do because obviously we know the words coming up, we know the doorbell's going to ring, we know the phone's going to ring, and how to continually surprise yourself and live in the moment. I don't learn lines unless, there's a crunch of some kind. I sort of, when my process is going well, those words sort of come out of what I'm doing. They kind of stick when they kind of coincide with what I feel the character is doing at that moment in the piece, and the words will sort of like Velcro kind of stick to me, and the ones that don't means usually that I'm having a problem with connecting to it emotionally. I will circle those sections or make a mark next to them and go back to them. It's almost, I would liken that to a pianist, who knows a concerto well and then has trouble. Oh, here comes that section I have a problem with. Well, if I was that pianist, I would work on that section a lot by itself out of context, just get it so that it becomes organic and becomes something I don't have to think about. When I did Ed Wood, when I played Lugosi, I didn't know where to begin. I literally, it was like looking at a mountain and saying, I don't know how to do this. Where do I start? And I like that. It was a totally blank canvas in front of me. And we did some makeup tests, and what I learned from the makeup tests was that the makeup allowed it, but didn't do it. And when I watched the test, and Tim Burton said, "You want to see the test with me?" And I said, "No, you let me be embarrassed by myself, please." And he called me, he said, "It works about 35% of the time." I said, "Really?" Well, I went to see it, and 10% maybe. But it was like elusive. It was like, oh, there it is. gone. There it is, gone. And it was, and I didn't know why it was gone. And I also, when it was there, it was Lugosi. And when it wasn't me, nor it was some stranger. It wasn't anybody I ever saw before. We shot it in color, and then ultimately, kind of a magical thing happened. I was sitting, had taken some Polaroid color shots of me in the makeup chair at various stages. And I was sitting at home and looking at these Polaroids, and I ran them through my fax machine, and they came out black and white. And I was sitting there looking at Ella Lugosi makeup in black and white when Tim called right at that moment and said, "Martin, I know we're supposed to start in such and such a date, but are you okay with our postponing it for a month?" And I said, "Yeah, well, what happened?" He said, "Mark Canton at Columbia does not want to do the picture in black and white, and I do." And he said, "I've gone to Disney, and they're willing to do it, but it'll be a month." Well, I had just come to that at the same moment. And I said, "Of course, yes, I'll wait for as long as it takes." Another thing I think good acting is, I mean, bad acting is when actors try to cry, try to laugh, try to be drunk. And good acting is when they fill up and try not to do all those things. What do people do? I mean, people in life are not willing to reveal everything. Uh, Someone once asked me what is it you do as an actor? And I said, well, dialogue in good writing is what people are willing to reveal, what they're willing to say. And the 90% they're not willing to say is what I do for a living. There's so many things one can do. I mean, I can listen to music before I can just hum a song that takes me to a place very quickly. As long as I'm relaxed, is my mouth moist? Are my hands warm and dry? Is my stomach relaxed? I mean, once I'm relaxed, I can go anywhere very quickly. I only need 30 seconds if I'm relaxed to well up or to laugh hysterically or to do any of those things. And most of the time, I have that at my fingertips and pull in on it. So, but when I say I have it, it's only because I've trained to have it. And I know that tension is the actor's worst enemy. A lot of actors work off of tension. They like a certain degree of it. And for certain kinds of things, it works okay, But for most things, and the things I like to do, it doesn't. You can do, you can do a lot of Shakespearean soliloquies, using ass tension, squeezing your buttocks together and going like crazy, and that isn't what acting is about, as far as I'm concerned, actors can also work when they're drunk. I mean, I can't because I wouldn't, I mean, it dulls you down. It doesn't sharpen you. I mean, maybe there were some things. I mean, I worked with a lot of English actors when I was in England, and I was, startled to see how much alcohol they would ingest. My preparation is usually to get myself into the right place and frame of mind when I start the day. And if I'm a little uptight and tense from whatever I woke up with, I got phone calls that are taking me here, there, and everywhere. I know that by a certain time I'm going to have to be ready. And on some mornings I'm okay, I can get there very quickly and I know it. On other mornings, there's work to be done. And I will use that time, dressing and in the makeup chair and anywhere, to get to the place. and I'm dogged about it. I mean, there's not. I'm having a hard time on any given day. That doesn't mean I give up and say this is a bad day. It means that's where the hard work comes in, is getting myself to the place where I feel I can do it.
That was Marty Landau and Barry Primus. Take in what they've done. Don't just take it intellectually. Don't just write it on your notes. Apply it to your own work and work. Take care. We'll talk again.